do believe there are many people who have a forgiveness issue, because if they didn't, they would forgive. But most people don't. I just received a letter yesterday from a lady that, in response to a blog post we sent out, who said, don't bring this up to me. I'm trying. We're doing our best. The world's doing their best to forgive, and so don't hold us accountable to that. And so that just kind of was a red flag to me that forgiveness was an issue with her, that it would spark in her a defense, which tells me that she has an issue with it.
Yeah. And I jokingly often say, the only people who don't need what we teach are the ones who've never been wounded. So if you've been wounded, you probably have a forgiveness struggle. Mm-hmm. Because when we get hurt, we want people to pay. Somebody's got to make it right. And it's so hard for people to grab a hold of that. And and I also think there's a lot of confusion that circles around what forgiveness is and what it isn't. And we've addressed that in other questions that we've answered in other ways. But forgiveness is basically applying the blood of Jesus as payment in full for every wound I ever have or will suffer. It's recognizing that the debt that was incurred by the wound has already been paid. Mm-hmm. And so with this lady, or someone thinking the way this lady is thinking, it's like, okay, it's just, I'm just going to have to absorb the cost. It's almost like you've got this, I've never thought of it this way. It's like we view this as an installment plan, right? There's a debt, and I can't just erase it all now. I just can't forgive it all now, mm-hmm. but I'll forgive a little bit of this. And maybe after 6 months or a year or 3 years or 27 years, it'll finally be okay. But that's just not the way it works.
Yeah, and there's so many lies all around this whole issue of forgiveness. Some people believe that when you forgive, you're saying it didn't matter. Well, no, it did matter. Christ had to die for it, so it definitely mattered. So forgiveness never says what they did was okay. It just says it was paid for. And also forgiveness never says that it's up to you to make the reconciliation happen. It's not on you to do that. Forgiveness and reconciliation aren't the same thing. You can go to our website to get more information on that. But basically, forgiveness is between us and God. And when we forgive, the other person is in God's hands. We've transferred them to the cross. And so it's out of our hands. And so reconciliation is not a proof that we have forgiven. But so many people won't forgive because they believe that's somehow involved, and it really isn't.
Yeah. And so I guess bottom line question is, if I'm looking at someone and I see that they have torment, they're dealing with depression, they're dealing with anxiety, they're dealing with anger issues, they've got old ones they just will not let go of, they talk about it all the time, they've got they're kind of slanderous in the way they talk about people, they put people to all these control issues, fear, they're just dominated by fear. That's an indication to me that it's an unforgiveness issue. And unfortunately, people don't associate that, although Matthew 18 does, and many other places in the New Testament does. So we try to help people recognize this real core issue is unforgiveness. And when you choose to forgive, you get free. If you don't get free.
Yeah. So that's what we think.
So the answer is, yeah, we see lots of people.
I'm going to ask you a follow-up question to that. How much do you think that pride plays a part in a person's unwillingness to forgive?
100%. Pride is the core issue behind all sin. Mm-hmm. And that when Adam and Eve sinned against God in the Garden of Eden, the serpent stroked their pride, and so pride is at the core. I can make it work. It's up to me. I get to make the determination. I get to decide. And so it's my pride says I'm so important that I'm not going to let this go. I'm more valuable. My needs are more valuable than the blood of Jesus and than God. So when we don't forgive, we're saying we're more valuable. We're a little higher than God in this, because God is accepting the blood of Jesus as payment in full, but I'm not. So I think there's a lot of pride in it. What do you think, babe?
Yeah, we find that people that we meet with, the ones that get free, are the ones whose hearts are open, and humility is what opens your heart. It's basically saying, I need help here. I can't do this. There's nothing in me. What I've tried all this time isn't working. But those who have pride, obviously their hearts are closed. That's the door that closes their hearts. And so those are the people that walk away without freedom because they think they've already forgiven. They think that, I don't know what they think, but it's clear that there is an issue.
It's about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, when I don't forgive, it's about what they did to me, and where's the focus? It's here. But when we really understand the gospel, then our focus is not on us, it's on what Jesus did for us and what Jesus did for them. And so our focus becomes upon Jesus and becomes upon them. And so when we see that with the whole blessing protocol, because once we choose to forgive, we know we validate the forgiveness by blessing. We no longer want them to pay us. It's not all about us anymore. We now want God to bless them, because vengeance says it's about me. What do I get out of this? And true forgiveness says it's really about Jesus and what he can do for them. And so how can I be an agent, having been blessed with the grace of God in my life? How can I be an agent of blessing to someone else? So it changes the focus from me to them.
Yeah.
Actually through the cross to them.
Now, how would I be able to identify whether or not, if I was harboring resentment and unforgiveness, how would I know that pride was my issue?
When you would know that pride is your issue if you are unable to admit where you are. If you're unable to say, this hurt and it's not okay, but Jesus paid for it. If you're not able to open your heart and literally forgive those wounds that took place against you, if you're not able to do that because your image is more important, it's the way you look and how you present yourself that's most important.
What will people think about me?
What will people think about me if I say that this hurt and I need to lay it at the cross? And you get real, you just become authentic. And people that aren't authentic and that want to look like they have it all together and not deal with really what's going on are people whose hearts are closed, and pride is clearly keeping that door shut.
Yeah, I remember one family we were working with. It's a high profile family, and the patriarch of the family came in, and I worked with him and got really, really close to him forgiving. But at the end of the day, he looked at me and he just said, I've got too much pride in my pocket to forgive. And he walked away, and his family got free because they forgave, but he just lived the rest of it just kind of in torment until finally, I think he passed away of a heart attack, I think. And, but just still in his bitterness. So I'm not sure if that's the answer, but you see it when the focus is on you. That's how you know it's about me.
Yeah. Instead of recognizing that you were wounded by somebody because they're hurting and they need freedom. So the faster you can forgive them and put their wounds at the cross and then bless them by asking God to come in and become freedom for them, to heal them of the wounds they've caused, to have compassion on them because you see why and how they got to where they are. Then pride is directing you if you can't do that. And humility is who we need to direct us. Just like Christ was humble and he forgave. He's our example.
Yeah. And in Matthew 18, a lot of pride in the first servant, not forgiving the second servant, the small debt when he hadn't been forgiven the instrumental debt. It's a focus on what I need, what I want, what my needs are, and not looking at the needs of somebody else.